and welcome to another edition of Hypnosis Helps with me, Neil Myers. And today is yet a different program. I'm going to continue to pick up the theme of hypnosis and hypnosis in the use of weight loss, weight management, and even obesity. Now, this is, as those of you who have watched this before, this is a live, unedited show. Today, assuming everything works out, we're going to have somebody calling in, one of my clients who, as it turns out, also later became a hypnosis practitioner. Her name is Holly. She'll be calling in probably in a few minutes. But other than that, it's just me. Last time I was with Dr. Kendra Becker, and sometimes I have a colleague with me, but today it's just me. And since this show is live and unedited, you will see all the things that are edited out in shows that are not live and are edited. Like, for example, you'll see me drink something like coffee. Oh, very good. Or water. Or I'll scratch my nose or whatever. So if you can get by with those distractions and interruptions, then I think you'll find the information contained in this show is very, very useful. Last time on the show, I announced that we were launching a new program featuring hypnosis combined in the early stages with a form of ketogenic paleo diet. And Dr. Kendra Becker and I discussed at length the advantages of that, why we chose to take that particular route. And Dr. Becker described in some considerable detail the advantages and her beliefs in the paleo keto diet protocol. And they were extremely helpful, and I'm very excited to be working with her. However, in the intervening week or so that we first talked about it with Dr. Becker, a few things struck me. And it looks like actually somebody's on the line right now, and that's Holly. And we're gonna pick it up just there. So here's what they are.
Now you can pick it up.
Holly, are you on the line?
Yes.
Hi. Hello. This is Holly. She's a client of mine, and Holly became so interested in the hypnotic process that you don't mind me saying, I hope, Holly. Well, I'm going to say it anyway, that Holly is also now a certified hypnosis practitioner, right?
Correct.
Very good. And Holly and I worked on a number of things together, but the reason I brought Holly on the program today is because I wanted her to describe some of her experiences with hypnosis, with dieting, and how we work together. Because one of the things I want to do on this show is explain why the use of hypnosis is valuable regardless of whatever diet you're following, or even no diet at all, in weight loss and weight management. So I just wanted to make it really clear that you don't have to stick to a specific diet. In other words, hypnosis isn't linked to a particular diet. In fact, it's very, very flexible for reasons that I'm going to describe more fully. But I wanted to bring somebody on the show who had recent experience of using hypnosis, hypnosis specifically for weight loss, who understands the hypnotic process and understands herself. So, Holly, welcome. There you are. That's your introduction.
Thank you.
So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask Holly some basic questions, and I want to hear what she has to say, and I want everybody else to hear what we have to say. So, Holly, you expressed an interest, desire you wanted to lose weight. You weren't content with the weight that you were at. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And could you just give a brief description of some of the things that you had tried in the past, successfully, unsuccessfully, partially successfully? It's in whatever way you want.
Sure. So last January, I started Whole30, which is where you eat whole foods, fruits, vegetables, meat, no dairy or grain or sugar.
Cutting out dairy, cream, or sugar. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And I lost about 10 pounds on that.
Okay.
And then the idea was to introduce back the dairy and grain to see if you are sensitive to it.
And just to make it clear, was there any hypnosis at this point?
No.
Okay, so this is a hypnosis-free diet.
You're correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So you lost about 10 pounds over what time period?
Over 30 days.
How long, sorry?
30 days.
30 days, okay. That's not bad at all. And then what happened?
Well, once I introduced the dairy and grains and sugar back in, I gained about 5 pounds.
Okay, so still an overall loss of 5 pounds. And then over
Yeah.
what time period did you regain that?
Until probably the end of March.
Okay, so January to March, so you lost about 5 pounds. And if you don't mind me asking, what were your weight loss goals? What were you looking to lose?
Oh, overall probably about 60 pounds.
About 60 pounds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. So you got somewhere towards those goals. Then what happened?
Well, then in April I went to hypnosis to you.
Okay.
But not for weight loss, but for fear of driving.
Okay. Do you want to say on the air how that worked out? You don't have to, but.
Oh no, that worked out great, very well. 2 sessions, and I was driving again.
Okay.
Then I learned self-hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started the weight loss program probably end of April or so.
Okay. Now, the weight loss protocol, and I want to describe different things. I want to make it very, very clear as we're talking here on this show that hypnosis is not tied to a specific diet. Okay, you don't have to follow a specific diet. There are a lot of hypnosis practitioners that promote specific diets, and we're going to describe why specific diets may at particular times be very helpful, but it's not absolutely necessary to bring in the power of hypnosis. So let me ask you a question. When we introduced the program, it's a loaded question because I know the answer. What diet did we use?
No diet.
Right. So say that again.
No diet.
There was no diet. Okay. So one of the programs that I use, and eventually where I want people to go, is to be free of diet. So I'm going to describe why in a moment. It's not because I hate diets or I think that they have no place or value. But remember, this is where we started Holly, okay? And again, you don't have to start there. You may want to finish there. But I just want to describe what occurred as it occurred, real world. Not fiction, not made up, not what we'd like to happen, but what actually happened. And so, tell me what occurred. What was the change in your... And actually, just before you do, I just want to make one point, which I've made many times, but I'll make it again. When we talk about weight loss, what we're really talking about is, of course, the loss of excess fat. You can reach a so-called healthy weight by dropping muscle. That I wouldn't consider, and I don't think any nutritionist, doctor would consider that healthy. We're looking to shed excess fat. Right, Holly?
Correct.
Right. So I just want to make that clear to everybody out there. So we talk about weight as a shorthand description, but it's really just a shorthand. So I'm sorry, Holly. So what happened? Tell us the blow-by-blow account.
Oh, sure. So I lost 15 pounds initially, and then I...
Hang on, let me stop you there. Over what time period did you lose 15 pounds?
Oh, through like June.
So
April,
from
May,
between,
June.
you started the program in, when do you say? Was it May or April?
I think late April.
April. So in the space of 5 or 6 weeks, you lost 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No diet, except when we say no diet, we have very specific rules, which we'll come to in a second, but we have very specific rules. So it's not an accident. It's things. Did you notice a change in your eating habits or eating patterns at all?
I was more focused on eating when I was hungry and stopping when I'm full and noticing when I was satisfied.
Okay, very good. How about the taste of the food?
Yes, and tasting my food.
Good. All right then. So then tell me then what happened?
And I had a bit of a plateau.
Right. So there was a plateau when you more or less stayed at the same weight.
Yes.
And for how long?
About a month.
Okay.
Like all of July.
Okay. What happened next?
And then I started blood flow restriction training.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about that and the use of hypnosis a little bit later on, probably not on this show, maybe on the next show. I just want to describe a little bit about what that is. If you get a chance to look it up, folks, look up blood flow restriction exercise, sometimes called BFR. In Japanese, which is where the concept came from, it's sometimes called Katsu. Blood flow restriction exercise. Probably the most knowledgeable person in the country on blood flow restriction exercise is somebody called Dr. Jim Stray-Gunderson, and it's possible that Dr. Stray-Gunderson will join us on the air for a description of blood flow restriction exercise in conjunction with weight loss. I want to be very, very clear that, like any exercise program, you have to ensure that you're in a condition to take an exercise program. You may want to consult with your doctor. I strongly recommend on our programs, and we talked about last week a little bit, exercise. And the reason I recommend blood flow restriction exercise is because it's very, very powerful, it's very well researched, it's very safe, regardless as to whether you're young or old, very overweight or just a little overweight, whether you've exercised a lot or not at all. You can incorporate this into what you do. Now, by the way, when I talk about blood flow restriction exercise, or you hear it, this is not blood occlusion exercise. That is a completely different thing. It is an unsafe and dangerous practice, which may lead to all sorts of health problems, which we'll talk about in greater detail. But we're talking here about blood flow restriction. And if you get a chance to look it up, look up Dr. Jim Stray-Gunderson. He has a marvellous lecture on YouTube which describes it really beautifully. Anyway, so you began, following some that, you began that process, right? Along with whatever it was we were doing, correct?
Correct.
And again, was there any dietary element at this point?
No, I was just keeping up what we learned in hypnosis.
Okay, very good.
What I learned, yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, I lost 10 more pounds, and then I stopped losing weight in November and December.
Okay.
And I plateaued again.
So in total, between the start of the program and about October, with a combination of exercise and no diet, you lost how much?
About 25 pounds.
About 25 pounds. So again, this is, it's not totally Holly's goal. She wants to lose more than that. But the thing that I want to emphasize at this point is that we have two elements working. We have the element of the change in how she's eating and her relationship to food. And we have the other element of a powerful form of exercise. By the way, how did you find it difficult to keep up the exercise, Holly?
No, I do it 3 to 4 times a week.
Right. And by the way, the initial recommended protocol given by the BFR folks, Dr. Jim Stray-Gunderson, is to exercise 20 minutes or so, 3 to 5 times a week. So again, we're incorporating that, and as I say, we're going to talk about that more and the use of exercise and hypnosis anyway. But so you brought that in, right?
Yes.
And now we're at, did you say we're about at November now, right?
Right.
Okay. So relatively short time ago.
Yep.
Okay. Because as we're filming this show, we're filming it on, what's the date today? Is it January the 3rd? I don't know. Let me see.
January 3rd.
Yes, January the 3rd. So now and then what happened next?
I plateaued through the end of December.
Okay. Now, when you say plateaued, you neither gained weight nor lost weight. Is that what you mean?
Pretty much, yeah. I wavered within 5 pounds.
Okay, so there's a 5 pound fluctuation up and down.
Yeah.
And you know, as I say to people on any dietary program, you know, losing weight isn't as you ever done, isn't a straight downward path. You know, there's going to be little jumps. And anyway, during the course of a day, we may weigh 1 pound or 2 pounds more or less as we eat or don't eat or exercise. So that's why I don't have people focus too much just on the scales. One of the things I like people to do, and I suggested to Holly, although I don't know if you ever got the chance, did you ever measure the change in the fat to muscle ratio or anything like that at all?
No, not recently.
Okay. There are various measures of that. Some health centres, gymnasiums have tools and devices. You used to do it by submerging in a bath of water. There are other tools that do it. And I think actually one of the most helpful measures is to measure the change in levels of fat, because my guess is that Holly's been... So how many weeks have you been doing the BFR for now, Holly?
Since August.
Since August. So what have we got? August,
Ready.
September, October, November, December. So almost 6 months, right?
Yeah, 5 months, yeah.
5 months. So my guess is, although of course it's a guess, I don't know, that somebody exercising in that way regularly, as Holly has been, not only, there are many, many positive benefits of blood flow restriction exercise, and you can use any form of exercise program just about with it, which again we'll talk about. But my guess is one of the things that's probably changed in your body, Holly, is that you've put on more muscle, right? What do you think? Right? But there's no way, but you haven't measured that, correct?
No, but I can tell. I did just like moving pots of boiling water to the sink is so much easier now.
So you feel a subjective difference and you sense that you're stronger.
Yep.
Right. Now, as most of you probably know, muscle is denser than fat. And so sometimes it's been reported that when people incorporate exercise which increases muscle mass, builds muscle, tauntens muscle, then a few things happen. There are metabolic changes that occur, which are quite well reported. But also, you may appear to gain weight. So one of the questions that I kind of have, now Holly didn't gain weight, but she plateaued. It's possible, I don't know because we haven't done the measures, it's just a hypothesis, that increase in muscle, she's still losing weight, she's still losing fat. It's possible, I don't know. I suspect that might be the case, but in any event, let's pretend for the time being it's not. Just the health benefits of dropping that 25 pounds and how you feel as you increase your mobility, increase your strength as a result of exercise and other things, that's going well for you, right?
Yes, and actually I just realized in the last year I hadn't had a single sick day either, and usually I have around 4 or 5, so it's impressive.
Say that again, please. I didn't hear that. The line was bad.
Oh, I'm saying I didn't have a single sick day last year.
Right.
And usually I have around 4 or 5, so I've been much healthier as well.
Right. And so this is another thing. We tend to be, thank you for mentioning that. We tend to be very focused when we come to weight loss on the loss of weight, but of course we don't want to just lose weight or lose fat. We're looking to do that because we want to improve our lifestyle, but of course primarily we want to improve our health. And so that's an extremely helpful measure. Holly didn't have as many sick days. So again, we're not just working purely on weight, fat. We're also working on overall health as a result of incorporating these things, using the power of hypnosis to help and support these practices. So thank you for that. One of the things I ask people to do is I frequently say, make a note of positive changes that have occurred. And we can't always 100% say that every positive change, of course, is a result of hypnotic practice. However, in the absence of other changing factors, then where we incorporated the hypnosis, that would indicate that it's probably at the very least helpful or a key element. In this instance, we have a change in eating pattern supported by the hypnotic process, plus a change in exercise pattern supported by the hypnotic process. So we're moving towards not just better weight, but better health. So that's excellent. So now what happened next? What's the next chapter in the story?
So the last week in December, my husband was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
So I researched that and came across a keto diet that's supposed to help with that.
Let me stop you there for 1 second. So just to be Holly's husband, if you don't mind me saying on or asking on the air, if you don't want to reveal, you don't have to. How old is he?
53.
53. Okay, so he's a young man. Okay, he's a young 53, and Holly's husband. Can I use his first name on the air?
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter was diagnosed with adult onset type 2 diabetes, which, as most of you watching may well know, probably know, very often certain simple medication is recommended. However, it's very often controllable through a combination of modifications of diet and exercise. And so, just to make it clear, Peter is not a client of mine. He hasn't been through any of the weight loss processes. Although I don't know, Holly, have you been practicing on him? Poor guy.
Yes, I have. Yes.
But I don't know. Did you do anything specific with weight, in the interests of openness and candor on the show?
Yes.
You did. Okay.
Yes.
So how did he respond to that?
Pretty good. He lost about 5 pounds.
Okay, so a moderate change. So
Yeah.
there's a diagnosis, and the diagnosis is that Peter has type 2 diabetes, right? And in an effort to help that and control that, there's dietary changes recommended. By the way, did the doctor recommend dietary changes?
Well, the doctor told him to lose 20 pounds. He did
So
not tell him how to do it.
And that's frequently the case these days, which is why doctors are interested in the work that we do. Of course, being in the country that we live in and the age that we live in, a great number of patients of doctors are overweight, as Dr. Kendra Becker last week described. And so doctors all across the country are interested and want their patients to return to a healthy weight. In fact, they themselves often want that. So it's not just their patients, they themselves. And so very often the doctor will say, how much weight was Peter supposed to lose?
20 pounds.
20 pounds. And so there's 20 pounds, but it doesn't tell you how to do it, right?
Right.
Right. So then the onus is placed upon the patient to find a program that is suitable. The doctor doesn't care as long as you've lost that 20 pounds, right?
Right.
Because if you lose that 20 pounds, he's hoping that Peter's blood sugar levels are going to normalise and the type 2 will go into abatement. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So this is good. So then what happened?
So we started doing keto starting last week.
Okay. Now, when you say we started doing keto, were you diagnosed with type 2 diabetes?
No.
So, in the interests of the viewers and everything, why did you start? What was the reason?
Just to support him. I didn't want to eat different food from him.
Okay, fair enough. Now, let me just take a little bit of a time out there, but this is very helpful. Now, the point I want to make is that Peter and Holly together researched or I guess Holly researched.
No.
I was being nice. I'm being polite. So, researched a diet, but Holly researched a diet, recommended it to Peter, and a form of ketogenic diet, which appears to be very helpful for people with type 2 diabetes. Is that a fair summary, Holly?
Yes, yes.
And in support of that, and in support of her partner, who I'm guessing, and if I'm unkind, you've got to stop me. I'm guessing that unless you do it, he'll find it almost impossible or won't do it solo. Is that true or not?
Yes, that's true.
Which just goes to prove, folks, if you've ever got any doubt, that hypnosis cannot make you want something. He's got to want to do whatever he wants to do. It can support changes that you want to make, where there are blockages in the conscious, subconscious mind, but specifically which are stopping it. So Holly felt that he needs to stick to this. He's going to do it now. Here's where I want to mention the flexibility of the hypnotic process. In the same way that Holly lost weight, and I believe fat, consistently over a period of months, using nothing but the hypnotic suggestions that we worked on together, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, not those specific ones, but how we do that a little bit, plus a structured exercise program, all of which she stuck to, right? Now, I want to make this really clear, that many people start exercise programs but don't continue them. Many people start dietary programs but don't continue them. Why? Well, one of the reasons why is that the conscious and subconscious mind are not aligned. One part of the mind is getting in the way of the other part of the mind, and the hypnotic process helps. So, in this instance, Peter needs to lose 20 pounds. Over what time period does the doctor want him to lose it, Holly?
I don't think he said, but his next appointment's April.
Okay, so where are we now? So within a few weeks, right? He wants him to bring that weight down. Now, in that instance, there it may be a use for a diet. In this instance, Holly adopted the ketogenic diet, or Peter did rather, and Holly joined him. You can still use hypnosis with a diet, without a diet. For example, some patients who are going to have certain surgeries, heart surgery for example, need to lose weight fast. Sometimes people who are morbidly obese, very, very heavy, maybe 100, 150 or more pounds overweight, need to lose weight relatively fast. And for those people, sometimes certain diets need to be prescribed because there is an imperative that they shed those extra pounds of fat very fast, either in anticipation of a procedure or because the very, very weight is becoming so mortally dangerous to their health. So I want to make it very clear that although you can lose weight using the hypnotic process without a conventional diet, sometimes a diet is necessary to achieve particular short-term goals. In Peter's instance, to take off that weight in the hope and belief that that type 2 diabetes will abate. And as Dr. Kendra Becker and I were saying last week, sometimes the initial part of a diet to give people a boost, a quick change metabolically, to keep them emotionally, mentally motivated, and to bring the body onto the right pathway, on the right track to begin that process of losing weight. There can be benefit there. So pick up the. By the way, Holly, if you want to comment on any of that, if you've got any opinions on that, feel free to do so. See, it's a live show, folks, unedited, so I don't know what she's going to say. She could say anything.
No, that's good.
So did you want to have any observations or comments on that, Holly?
Not really, no.
Okay, so now Holly's put herself on a ketogenic diet, right?
Yes.
Okay, how long have you been doing that for now?
A week.
A week. And what's happened?
At first I was losing about a pound a day, then it slowed to half a pound a day.
Okay, that's still pretty fast, right? That's
yeah.
pretty rapid weight loss, because on the dietary programs, the no diet hypnosis protocol that I've recommended in the past, and that's not the only one I've recommended, but as an example, people tend to lose weight at the rate of 1 pound to 3 pounds a week, something like that. Some people need to lose weight a lot faster than that for health reasons. Other people, that's fine. 1 pound to 2 pounds a week, for example, is a lot of weight if you consistently do it. And again, it's not a straight line, there are fluctuations, but moving in the right direction. So you've experienced that, and Holly's, you're continuing to, work and experiment with that. How's Peter doing?
Good.
Good.
He lost weight as well, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So in this instance, if Peter was coming to me as a client, as a hypnotic client, and he came with that specific goal, that he wanted this dietary program because he had that specific goal under his doctor's recommendations, then what we would do hypnotically is we would incorporate that goal, sticking to that diet for that specific short-term, medium-term loss of 20 pounds, 25 pounds, or whatever it was, into the program. This is a very, very important point that I want us to emphasize. Just because Holly has decided to do this in support of her partner for the next however long, few weeks, it doesn't mean that she can't still incorporate the other elements of what it is that we worked on together. That's the flexibility of the hypnotic process. It's more than just a series of suggestions about sticking to a particular diet. It's about incorporating the conscious and subconscious minds to work together in harmony. Now, the conscious mind element is the element of the diet, of the program, right? So sticking to particular things that you have to do, Holly, on that specific program, correct?
Right, yep.
Right. So this is the conscious mind. This is the conscious mind thinking about it, considering it, making choices. Part of those choices, for example, is determining, we know there are certain foods that with the best will in the world are probably not healthy. Now, again, I want to be very, very clear here. At least there's a lot of interest in paleo diets, ketogenic diets and other diets where you're told that you absolutely should not ever eat certain things. Again, I have respect for people who want to follow that, and if that's what you want to do, you can do that and incorporate it. However, I'm not saying that even that is absolutely necessary. I personally don't do that. I still eat carbohydrates, some. I still eat the odd piece of cake and piece of chocolate, and I still consistently maintain my weight. But I'm at what we call the latter stages of an eating plan for a healthy life, right? However, there is some education that's needed, right? And there is some habit change that may be needed. Do you want to describe a little bit about some of Peter's eating habits, which I'm sure we all share to some greater or lesser degree, but just give a couple of descriptions.
Yeah, he really likes pasta and ice cream.
Right. Now, again, we're not saying that you should never have pasta or ice cream again in the whole of your life, unless, there's some specific medical reason why you can't have those things. But a diet that consists of pasta and ice cream, and I'm not saying that's all that Peter eats or any of us all eat, of course. But if the balance of those becomes wrong, then we've got the results, right? The doctor's saying, well, the result of what you're eating and the weight that you have gained as a result of eating that diet has led to this condition of type 2 diabetes, right?
Right.
Right. And by the way, is the doctor also recommending exercise?
I don't know.
Okay.
He just said to lose weight.
Okay, so the primary focus was on losing weight. Fair enough. So in following doctor's orders, doctor's instructions, he's doing that. Now, in your estimation, Holly, how aware was Peter? I mean, truly aware. I'm not being unkind to him at all. I mean, this is not just Peter; it's all of us, right? All of us, right? How aware was he of the health effects of eating too much ice cream, too much pasta, too much pizza, or whatever it might be?
Well, I think he's been aware for a while. I mean,
Right.
He's been borderline for a few years now, and he just got pushed over the border.
Right. So this brings us to a key point. We can be in two conditions, aware or unaware of healthy food choices. For example, Kendra Becker and I spoke at length last week about sugar and the enormous quantity of sugar we eat. I can't remember what it is. You might know more about this than me. Is it something like 130 pounds on average for each member of the population per year? Is it something like that?
Yeah, it is a shocking amount. I don't know the exact amount.
Yeah, I mean an enormous amount of sugar. And just as a basic point of education, few of us know how much sugar we consume, because when we think of sugar, we tend to think of sugar that we might put in a cup of coffee, or sugar in the form of a sweet cake or a piece of candy. But the sugars that we're not aware of are often the things that are laced with and loaded with sugar, processed foods, many things that we don't think of. So it's necessary for there to be some conscious mind education about sugar, where it is, and as part of a healthy whole life eating plan, how we can at least lessen the amount of sugar. A well-known doctor who is a specialist in something called orthomolecular medicine which is a branch of medicine that recommends and supports high doses of certain vitamins and minerals. His name, he's dead now, his name is Dr. Abraham Hoffer. Anything you find by him is worth a read. He stated quite categorically that we could, if all just cut our sugar intake down by 50%, so getting down to a mere, 60 pounds a year, it would probably have a radical effect on improving the health of the nation as a whole. And it's hard to disagree with that, and I think that one will find very, very few people that would say that. However, this is where education is necessary. Now, we've been told many times that sugar is very addictive. Kendra Becker told us last week about the addictive nature of sugar, and it's true. We want that sugar, and we find it in many, many of these substances, the ice creams, the pastas, the sauces. Kendra Becker mentioned the barbecue sauces and things like that. So we need that sugar buzz. Now, so here's where the education is needed, but is it easy to stick to that? Is he having some difficulties avoiding the ice creams and the pastas, Holly?
Not yet that I'm aware of.
Okay, that's good. So he's got the resolution to stick to it so far, right?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now here's what tends to happen, folks. What tends to happen is that a part of our mind, our subconscious mind, and of course we've talked about on before, our subconscious mind and emotions, it rebels. And it says, give me that ice cream, because I need a reward, because I need to feel good, because I need to feel a certain way. And sometimes this is described as emotional eating, or I want to eat pasta, and we can go into the reasons for that. And again, it's not that you should or shouldn't eat it, it's that the choice becomes emotional. And then you find yourself there. Hypnosis, the role of hypnosis is it helps to align and harmonise the conscious and subconscious mind so he can stick to that for a period of time, so to attain that goal, right? So
Yeah.
are you going to do a session with him, Holly? Because you're a hypnosis practitioner now, so you should be able to do it, right?
Yes, if he'll let me.
If he'll let you. So you have to work on. I'll have to work on that element of him letting you do hypnosis sessions with you. By the way, folks, it's always hardest to use hypnotic practice on those closest to you. It would be much. I'd look like a genius if I was to do hypnosis with Peter. I'm sure it'd be perfect, and much harder for Holly. So that's good. So you can see how this element. Now, here's the key question though. So let's say he attains that goal on that ketogenic diet, or any other diet, and he loses that 20 pounds or whatever it is. And by the way, is 20 pounds, is that his final goal, or he hasn't established that yet, or he doesn't know?
That was the doctor recommendation.
Okay. So let's say is that what he wants, 20 pounds, or does he want more than that? I'm just asking him.
No, I don't think he wants more. I think he thinks that 20 pounds is actually a lot. But,
and
yeah.
20 pounds is frankly, in terms of what we do, moderate. It's not a big weight loss. It's not like he has to lose 150 pounds or 100 pounds, right? It's just 20
Right.
pounds. Okay. Having got there, then what? What does he do next?
I don't know.
Right, and that's the key question, you see, folks. See, that's the key question. Because having established a healthy weight, an ideal weight, the key then is that we want to maintain that, right? And so that's why the hypnotic programs that I recommend always have that key element in it, the maintenance, the ability to keep it. Now, some people might say that that's the ability just to stick to a diet and nothing else. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But that's the key thing that we want to talk about, the role of hypnosis. So the hypnotic element is very, very helpful and very, very flexible. And that's why the hypnotic element that we use is not contraindicated to any healthy eating plan. The fact of the matter is, right, we don't always, depends upon the status of current research. A few years ago, everybody was talking about eating high levels of carbohydrates, low levels of proteins and fats. Now, on the keto diet that you're eating, what's the proportion of fats to proteins to carbohydrates, Holly?
That is around 70%, and then 15% carbs, 15% protein.
And that's very, very different from the conventional food pyramid that many of us know. And again, I'm not here, and when she talks about fats, she's talking about particular types of fats. I'm not here to debate the merits of a ketogenic diet or a Pritikin type diet or a Weight Watchers diet. That's not what we're here to do. The fact of the matter is that Holly has decided, by her own research and in consultation with medical professionals and others, that that's what she wants to do for a period of time for her reasons, and that's what Peter wants to do. So the question isn't whether hypnosis can change her mind about that. It's a question of whether hypnosis and the hypnotic process can support that. And that's what it's really good at doing, at supporting choices that you want to make, that you've decided to make, and to work with you to eliminate subconscious blocks, emotional barriers that are stopping you reaching your ideal healthy weight. That's why the hypnotic tool and the hypnotic measures and processes are flexible, adaptable to you. They're not just prescriptive. It's not a one size fits all. Is that fair, Holly?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Did you want to say something there, or?
Nope.
And I don't want to keep you too long because I know you have to go. But one last thing I just wanted to mention: when we work together in hypnosis, and again I know the answer to this question, but for the benefit of the viewers, did we tailor any part of the program specifically to you?
Yes.
Right. In fact, as I remember, you had some very, very specific goals for weight loss, personally for you, and you had some very specific things that you wanted to do as a result of losing weight. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Right. And I'm going to bet, and I'm certain I'm going to win this bet, that Holly's goals and Peter's goals are not identical. They're individual and personal to them. They may be on the same diet, but their goals for losing weight, their emotional, mental goals are different. And we incorporated those directly into the program, didn't we?
Yes.
Right. So, how did you, what was it like? Do you ever, right now, think about those goals, reflect upon those goals, use those as a part of your current program? Or have you forgotten all about them?
The second one. No,
Right. So this is getting just to another important point. We need to periodically reinforce why it is we're doing what we're doing. That's why the hypnotic element needs to be reinforced. That's one of the reasons why I taught Holly self-hypnosis. That's why it's sometimes necessary to reinforce these elements by coming to a hypnosis practitioner periodically to boost certain things. That's not the only reason. So again, very often it's not only a question of a one-time hypnotic program or process, but maintaining it and ensuring that we're focused on those goals and we understand them and we use these powerful processes to maintain them. So that's extremely helpful. Holly, is there anything else that you'd like to say? And I want to thank you very much for taking the time in your busy day to come on the show. Holly has an important job, so I appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else that you'd like to say or describe that has come to your mind about using hypnosis in regards to weight loss or anything at all?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Well, Holly, thank you very much. Continue that processes. We're going to continue to work together. My recommendation would be that you design something specifically for Peter along the lines that we talked about. if you can make him sit in a session with you, and continue. And so as you continue, what's just to round out, what's your goal for you? Are you going to stick to that ketogenic process as long as Peter does, or what's your personal goal?
I'm not sure yet. I'm only a week in, so I'm going to see how I feel. And if I start to feel bad, I'll probably stop. But so far, so good. I've actually loaded with energy, so I feel
Okay.
really good.
That's great. That's fantastic. I'm happy to hear that's working well for you. But generally speaking, if we take the overall picture, you started off using dietary processes which had a somewhat of an effect but didn't seem to last. And since you've used the hypnotic processes combined with a powerful exercise program, even without a diet, and now with a little bit of a diet, you've seen a gradual loss of weight over time and an increase in energy, health. And I think you commented that, at least, if you don't mind me saying so, that was it your father that noticed that you'd lost weight or something like that?
Pretty much everybody at this point has noticed.
Right. And they're the sort of things those sort of things help us, all of us, to continue and maintain what it is that we're doing. We need that encouragement. So, Holly, thank you very much indeed. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show. Maybe we'll have you back on the show later on. You can give us an update as to how things are going, or for something else hypnotically. Thank you very much, and until the next time, enjoy your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Yep, bye.
So that was real life, not scripted. I didn't know what she was going to say. Of course, I know something about her case. That's an experience of somebody using hypnotic process without a diet, with a diet. And so here's one of the things that I think I really want to mention and emphasize that's very, very important. So first point, you don't have to stick to a very specific diet to make hypnosis work for you. However, if you wish to adopt a particular diet, and there may be very good reasons to do so, as Dr. Kendra Becker said and others have said, you can do it and use the process of hypnosis, and it will greatly enhance and affect your capacity to be on that diet and to benefit from that diet. So that's number one. The second point is that everybody who wishes to lose weight, manage their weight, does so for specific personal reasons. Of course, there are general reasons like health. There can be a very specific reason like changing in type 2 diabetes or an impending procedure. But beyond that, everybody has specific emotional goals connected with weight and the loss of weight. Maybe you want to have more energy. Maybe you want to go on an active vacation. Maybe you want to play sport better. Maybe you want to walk your dogs or enjoy working in the garden, going on hikes, engaging in other activities. But these particular things will be personal to you. There'll be things held in your emotions, in your heart and in your mind. And in the hypnotic processes that we use, and when we work with clients, a part of what we do is to tailor, structure part of the hypnotic process specifically to the particular goals that you have and the particular desires that you have for weight loss. Now, some hypnotic programs and some of our programs are only group sessions, and group sessions can be very valuable and very powerful. However, in group sessions we are somewhat limited as to how individualized we can make it. So to increase the power and the effectiveness of specific weight loss protocols using hypnosis, I recommend that at least a portion of the weight loss program, the weight management program, is by individual session. And so on the programs that we have, the upgraded level of the program is to do at least one individual session, and that may also include a consultation with a nutritionist or a doctor, just to ensure that the conscious mind understands what it is that needs to be done so that the subconscious mind can incorporate that together. So that's one element to our program. There is a further element as well that is very, very important, which we may talk a little bit more about on other shows, and it's something that we've touched on before. Sometimes people describe a factor called emotional eating. Now, it could be argued that all of our eating is emotional eating, We are fortunate that we live in a time and in a society in which most of us have the food that we want to eat. Thankfully, most of us are not starving or desperate for food. We live in a society, frankly, of abundance. We probably have greater choice of foods and types of food, unless we're extremely poor or below the poverty line. Unless we're there, we have a choice of foods greater than probably any society at any time in history. And people have argued in different ways that our food is depleted in its quality, and we can debate that at a different time. But basically the choice is there. Organic, non-organic, fruits, vegetables, proteins of almost any type. So the question really becomes, not do we eat because we're hungry, but why do we eat something? How do we eat something? And very often we are not eating because we are hungry. We don't stop eating when we're satisfied. We eat sometimes, as many of us know, because we're bored, by habit, to reward ourselves, to make ourselves feel better if we're feeling sad, depressed, or just generally or lonely. Any of these emotional reasons can be linked to food. And so therefore, food doesn't become a means of being healthy and giving ourselves healthy energy. It becomes a means to satisfy an emotional craving. And one of the things that we deal with in our hypnotic processes is exactly that. Now, this doesn't mean that we are just machines. I believe that it's important to enjoy your food. And I believe as a part of enjoying one's food, one should taste one's food. That's a really, really important element. The tasting of food is the thing that coordinates and harmonizes the conscious and the subconscious mind. We're probably aware of unconscious eating. There are many examples. A classic example is we go to the movie house, the cinema, the picture show, and we order a bucket of popcorn. And somehow, whilst watching the show, we're putting it in our mouths, completely unconscious, maybe a candy bar, maybe something else sweet, and we've consumed a ton of food, barely being aware of it, because our attention is consumed by the show. And of course, we do that all the time. We constantly occupy ourselves with other things when we're eating. And as a result of that, we eat partially with our eyes. Oh, I've got to finish this plate, and not really with our taste. And so a big part of what we do in the hypnotic process is reawakening that process of taste, of connection to food, which is a connection to our sense of satisfaction, our satiety, our sense of fullness. Very, very important. And the hypnotic process enables us to become aware of that. There is another element, and an even deeper element. And this has been known about and mentioned many times. The well-known hypnosis practitioner, who I've mentioned many times on the show, Dave Ellman, he mentions in a passage, he has a whole book about, or a whole chapter in his book about obesity. And one of the things that he observes is that doctors would come to him and ask people to put people on what he called a hypno diet. A diet similar to what we've described about, supported by hypnosis. And very often they would lose weight and maintain that weight loss for a year or 2 years. And then 2 years later, they come back again and they'd be almost at the same weight that they were before. And the question was, well, hypnosis doesn't last, it doesn't work. But Dave Ellman pointed out something very, very important that I want to point out to people watching this, is that if there is a powerful subconscious reason why we need to maintain the weight that we are, even if it's in excess, even if it's unhealthy, even if it's in opposition to our doctor's advice and our ongoing well-being, our health, we'll still do it. We'll find a way to correct back to what is subconsciously acceptable in terms of our weight, unless that part of it is dealt with specifically. So we can give powerful and effective suggestions for loss of weight. We can give powerful and effective suggestions in line with your goals. We can give powerful and effective suggestions to stick to a dietary program that you've selected. We can give powerful suggestions to stick to an exercise program that is healthy and recommended by your advisors and professionals. However, if there is a strong emotional reason in your subconscious mind that is telling you, for whatever reason, that it's not safe to do that, any of those programs, even mine, will have a limited or temporary effect. And our goal, our ultimate goal, is healthy weight for life. And we're going to talk about this more in the next episode and describing how that's an important part of the program. Because what Dave Ellman and others identified is that if you get to those important key reasons which are held in the subconscious mind as to why you became overweight anyway, then any program that you adopt not only becomes more effective, but it becomes something that is permanently sustainable. Not just the program, but the sustainability of maintaining your ideal healthy weight, because you are harmonizing the conscious and subconscious minds, and they are not acting in opposition to each other to prevent you from losing weight and maintaining that weight. So one of the things that Dave Ellman, more or less insisted upon, and I strongly recommend to all of the people who see me, is that if you work with me, we have an individual session, at least one or maybe more than one, not a lot necessary usually, very few, in which we pinpoint the reason why you initially started to put on weight. So for example, and we're going to give examples of this on the next show, some people maintained a very healthy weight until they were, let's say, mid-teens or early 20s, and then something occurs and it changes. So we work on the basic principle that when change occurs, there is a reason for it to occur. However, it's not necessarily a reason that you're aware of. It's not necessarily a logical reason. It may be a purely subconscious reason, something below your level of consciousness, or something that on an examination appears to be illogical, but yet is very powerful because it's acting there in the background. And part of the hypnotic process and part of the processes that I use is to get to that, to find that. And the reason that's so important is because having done that, everything else that you adopt, a healthy lifestyle, good food choices, a healthy exercise program becomes more powerful, more effective, and lasts for the whole of your life. So we're going to deal with that more on the next show and other things. And until then, I want to thank you for watching this. I want to thank Holly for being a guest on the show. And I wish you a healthy lifestyle, a healthy weight, and a perfect start to the new year. Now's the time to take yourself in hand, harmonize the subconscious and conscious mind, use the power of hypnosis to help you reach a healthy weight for life. Thanks for watching the show. This is Neil Myers, Hypnosis Practitioner, saying thanks and goodbye.